a lot of their diet was wild food. They went out and got greens, summer greens, winter greens. They literally got greens, and you can go to a restaurant and eat wild greens on the menu every day. The more flavorful a food is naturally, the more medicinally rich it is.
Hey there, it's Dr. William Lee, physician, author, and scientist. And I'm doing this video series that's really just me with my friends having real conversations about the things that we're passionate about. And I think this is something that it's a little bit of an experiment to sort of have an unscripted, kind of like unplugged conversation. But I think that's something that I love to do anyway. And I'm here with my good friend and fellow soldier of health, Dr. Mark Hyman, who needs no real introduction, but he's the dude that invented functional medicine. Food is medicine. I mean, he's really been so influential in everyone's life in this world, and he and I have had many adventures together,
and many meals.
And many meals. And I thought, maybe we just dive right into this. And most people don't know, unless you know me and you, that Mark and I were both just separately in the Mediterranean. So what did you do? Where'd you go? And what did you do? And what was it like?
Well, I went to Turkey, and then I went to Icaria, one of the blue zones. And not actually, Turkey was kind of cool because it is kind of a blue zone, but it wasn't a sexy blue zone, so it wasn't really counted. But there were lots of old people there on the coast near Bodrum.
So you went to Bodrum? Okay.
Near cool. Bodrum, yeah. And we went up bike riding in these villages, and we went to this little town, and we had this olive oil tasting, and it was like a fleet of olive oil cups, and it wasn't really great for my digestion to drink all that oil, but basically it was so amazing to actually taste the different polyphenol levels and the different oils that came from different parts of the season.
And these are all like local growers and
soup
brought their home brew.
They're like, okay, well, we use the wild olives. We don't let them drop to the ground, because if we drop to the ground, it changes the polyphenol content. So it was fascinating.
Wow.
Then I went to Icaria, which was one of the blue zones that Dan Buettner uncovered.
Yeah.
Where there's like 3 times. I mean, I think 1 in 20 people live over 90 in America. There it's 1 in 3.
Wow.
And a lot of centenarians. And what was fascinating to me there was because I had been to Sardinia the year before, was that a lot of their diet was wild food. So they had.
What does that mean?
Well, they went out and got greens, summer greens, winter greens. They literally got greens, and you can go to a restaurant and eat wild greens on the menu every day.
Right.
So it's just a part of their staple diet. And wild food has much higher phytochemicals than farm raised or even organic food. So that was really interesting. They had wild mushrooms,
rocky, scrubby stuff. They just
yeah.
Don't they call it horta or something like that? It's like
horta, exactly, right? Horta.
When you had like the wild greens, how did they prepare that? Like what?
Just sauteed, a little olive oil, salt, simple, lemon, nothing complicated.
Was it bitter, smooth? Like
it was kind of. It wasn't really bitter like broccoli rabe. It was kind of like a cross between spinach and dandelion greens.
Okay. Yeah.
And then they had wild mushrooms they ate, which were all these forage mushrooms.
Wow.
They ate a lot of wild tea. So the entire island is covered in herbs, sage and oregano and all these, thyme. There's wild versions of them. And there's one particular plant is wild sage. And I was sitting with this goat shepherd, and he was milking his goats, and we were making cheese together. I mean, he was doing it, I was more watching. But anyway, and after
you didn't try your med school fashion udder skills.
No, I could actually. We got there a little late. Otherwise, I was going to be milking the goat for sure. But there was one goat with like testicles, so I don't think that was very good.
Okay, but wrong goat.
wrong goat. And I'll send you a picture. And the guy then served us some tea with some of the cheese and also olives that he'd picked on himself and had brined in the sea of the ocean, the salt water. But the wild sage tea was so delicious. It wasn't caffeinated. And when I looked it up, it had extremely high levels of epigalactic catechins. So the very powerful compounds in green tea that make green tea so protective and is an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, detoxifier, for longevity in so many ways. They're drinking this stuff all day long, every day.
It's in wild sage, EGCG?
Wild sage, yes,
Really?
yes. Without the caffeine. That's exactly what I thought, really. I never heard of this. And it's like it's their, like, instead of green tea, it's their
Can
green
you
tea.
send me a reference on that? Like it'd be so, I think it like
For
it's mind
sure.
opening. It's mind opening to think about, like how, look, when you're out in the lecture circuit or you're speaking or you're frankly doing research, like we tend to hear the same canned stuff about the
Yeah.
bioactives all the time. And
Yeah.
we basically don't know most of the bioactives.
No, it's true. And then they go, oh, I know if I feed my goat this plant at this time of year and my sheep this plant this time of year, the cheese and the milk tastes better. So they basically
Wow.
flavor the milk and the cheese before the animal is harvested or before they milk the cow
Right.
or before they milk the goat or sheep, because the phytochemicals end up in the milk and the meat. And they know that if we're eating these plants, they're actually enriching the flavor.
So,
And
so
this was a
like,
huge,
did it open your mind to see how these people in the blue zones, or like these long-lived people, that they're not like pure vegans, or like they eat more broadly? Like, how did you kind of
yeah.
how do you
I mean, look,
reconcile that?
they were very poor historically, right? So a lot of the longevity was in the pace of poverty, starvation, and lack and scarcity when they were
Yeah.
younger. And we see this in Holocaust survivors. They typically have lives far exceeding the average norm that would be in their population, even because it's not genetic. That somehow with the starvation episodes when they were in the Holocaust, it triggered these longevity pathways. So there may be some of that, but also they eat, they're shepherds. They have goat and sheep. That's what they do. So
Right.
they eat cheese all the time, every day. So they're not vegans for sure.
Right.
Meat is a little more scarce, and
Okay.
they'll harvest a goat or they'll have a festival. Now it's a little more abundant, and the diet is sort of changing. But I went to visit this guy, Panikatos, and his wife Aleka. He was 97. She was 87.
Wow.
And I mean, he had like a little health episode, but he was still pretty strong and vibrant and mentally sharp.
Yeah.
She ran the entire farm. I'm not going to say a garden. It was like a farm. They had a hillside farm with multiple terraces,
In her
whole
late 90s.
orchards. No, she was 87, but
87.
she looked like she was 60, 67,
Okay.
running up and down. I could barely keep up with her. She grew all the food for their whole year. She stored it, she froze it, she canned it, whatever she did. It was pretty impressive. And they served us this beautiful lunch and homemade this and homemade that.
And active on the farm, right? So like there's like that, her farm is her Peloton.
Basically, yeah, there was up and down on the side of a hill, and I'm like chasing her up and down the mountain. And I'm like, how does she do this all by herself? She says, well, now she gets a guy to come and help do the sort of tilling a little bit to get the garden ready.
Right.
But she does everything else, and it's very impressive. They had so many fruit.
So what was there like a big, like I was just in Greece myself. I went there, to do some more research for the next book I'm writing. And I went to a volcanic island. I went to the island of Santorini, where I've been going for many years. And what I was interested in is capers and their tomatoes, because they grow these like really, really intensely hot volcanic soil, essentially. And I was tasting them and trying to figure out where they came from and how they brine them and how they incorporate them in life, which is pretty much in everything that they eat. But they also had horta, which is why I came up with that name. It's on the menu, right? So basically, like restaurateurs, taverna owners would go out there and just like pluck it off out of the ground, rinse it off, and serve it at night.
Pretty much, right? Yeah. So they're like wild fish, wild mushrooms, wild tea, wild greens. I'm like, it's a lot. And we know that wild plants are just so much higher in the bioactive phytochemicals that are good for our health. So that was kind of an interesting aspect to me. And also, the what the goats eat and what the sheep eat. And it's like, you're not only eating what you're eating whatever you ate.
Exactly. Well, that's, like, I think it's, that's one of the things I love being in the Mediterranean, is sort of, it's a reminder to me of how elemental our food actually is, except that when you take us into our, like our modern realities in America and our homes, like it seems like we've been ripped from the fabric of the earth, and so totally. we're disconnected. So for me, it was like amazing. You're sitting by the sea where the fish come right out of, and they're completely fresh. The capers are all local. The lemons are probably shipped in, but it was just amazing. Like I always tell people this is like this whole idea of a Greek salad, right? So who doesn't like a Greek salad? It's supposed to be good for you, except tell you, like I'm like, here's my Greek salad. This is what they look like
Oh,
in Greece,
wow.
and it's different than what you'd order in a
Yeah.
restaurant and almost anywhere else because
Mm.
it just came right from the local
Yeah,
garden.
yeah. I mean, they understand the quality of food growing it locally. Everybody had their gardens. I mean, it was just normal. Like, in America, we had 40% of our food grown as victory gardens in the 40s, but now nobody does it, which
Right,
we
right.
should do. We should have not. We should have lawns. We should put gardens in our front lawns.
Well,
I
so
did
you
that in
talked about
college. I
go
ripped
ahead.
up my backyard with a bunch of my friends who we had a house together. We ripped up the backyard and put in a garden.
Right, right, right. No, like I love to do that. So look, you talked about horta, we talked about olive oil, we talked about goats, cheese. Was there something really memorable that you remember eating there?
Well, yeah. I mean, one of the things that was so amazing was how they made wine and how they originally made their cheese. So the wine was made from these special grapes that are grown in very acidic soil. They're volcano grapes,
Okay.
and they're and the soil is very acidic. There's not a lot of water. The roots have to go like 10 feet down,
Oh,
and so they're
wow.
they're really stressed plants.
Yeah.
And
Which
the more
means that
stressed
they're going to have more polyphenols.
yeah.
Right.
And so they tested the wine against many other wines, and it's so delicious. And then they made it in this traditional way. They literally still make it by throwing it in a big, slate, like almost box, and everybody gets in with their feet, smushes
Stamping
it
on it.
down, stamping on it. And then I'm like, I hope nobody has athlete's foot, is what I'm thinking. And then they kind of put it in these underground clay 200-liter pots,
Wow.
and then they cover it, like seal it airtight, and let it just ferment.
Right.
And then they have different stages of it. They have white, they have red, and I went to this guy who had literally preserved all the ancient foodways, and he had literally had the way they were making wine from centuries ago, and he had these clay pots under the ground where he was having white and reds. We just drank a lot of wine, and he made this bread from Zea wheat. Zea was what Alexander the Great used. It was this
Okay.
super high in phytochemicals. It's a very different kind of grain, very low gluten, lots of minerals, and
Zio,
it's
ZIO,
ZEA. It's actually,
CEO.
yeah. I think even Homer wrote about it.
Wow. Can we
Yeah.
get it
So
here?
I don't know. It was amazing. And he said he made a loaf of bread. He like cooks it in the wood fired oven and lasts like a week in terms
Yeah.
of going without going bad. And then we had prosciutto that he made. He explained how he made it. He took the grape leaves, the fresh grape leaves, where they have water in them. He took salt from the ocean. Wine, the better the wine, the better the prosciutto. Like you basically soaked it in wine, washed it in wine, and then they have
What
to
did they wash
preserve it.
in? What did they wash in wine?
The leg of the for making prosciutto, like the whole leg of the pig.
Oh, they just washed it in the wine.
Yeah, and then they put in the grape leaves and the salt, and then they hang it with herbs, and they hang it
Right.
over the fireplace.
Right.
It's quite amazing thing. He made one from lamb. He made one from pig, and then all these different kinds of cheeses he made. He made wild mushrooms. We actually had grape leaf stir fry, kind of like it was like steamed grape leaves with lemon and garlic and olive oil. So everything was
What
just,
kind of mushrooms do they have there?
I didn't know they were kind
You
of
recognize
chunky,
them?
chewy. I didn't really recognize them. No, I ate
Cool.
them. Well, I hope I didn't die, so I think I'm okay.
You're right, 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 right. And did they
Yeah.
flavor them with herbs or
Yeah, herbs and salt. Just very simple. Olive oil. Everything was olive oil, salt,
and they and
lemon,
they and
simple
they ate
herbs.
like the meals you ate there, they were family style or how were they?
Yeah, for sure. Family style. Yeah. Family style. So we had really beautiful meals. Incredible food. It was interesting to see how they had, how they basically had these old traditions that they kept up there because they were so isolated from the world. I mean, Ikaria is not exactly a tourist destination,
No.
actually. So it's like, but it's pretty funky and a lot of hills.
How did you get there? You had to go by boat from
Boat.
Turkey?
I took a boat. Yeah, it was about an hour, 2 hours, an hour, 2 hours from.
It's in the Dodecanesus, right? So it's like
Yeah,
by roads and all that area.
there is an airport actually, but yeah, we took a boat from Turkey and
Wow.
had a great time. Yeah.
That is so awesome. I'm trying to think about like what I ate in Santorini that was really memorable. The thing that I always think about when I recall Santorini is their tomatoes. They have like
Mhm.
um, these little tomato things they mix with mint, and so you get
Mhm.
this ultra sweet tomato flavor. It's actually, these are whole tomatoes that taste like tomato paste. And
Mm,
then they mix them up with mint, and you get the sort of like this really
wow.
sophisticated flavor. They fry them up as a fritter. But so I kind of peel off all the crispy stuff, and you just kind of dig out all this delicious stuff in the middle. And then the other thing I love are these Santorini and fava beans. They're basically
Yeah. Oh
like
yeah.
beans, and they puree them.
Yeah.
Little olive
Big on that.
oil, little chopped diced red onion, and it's like this like ultimate simple meal.
Yeah.
I feel full. I feel satisfied. I feel
Yeah.
like my taste buds got lit up.
Yeah.
Just amazingly delicious food. So, all right. So, what was it like? What was re-entry like for you to leave Turkey, Ikaria, to come back
It wasn't so
home?
bad because I went to Ibiza for 10 days
All
and
right.
had some of the most amazing food there, just the freshest vegetables, incredible seafood. Um, and then I came back and went to Idaho, which
Okay.
was terrifying.
I mean, like, but like, what's the like? How do you? What was like? How do you deal with reentry? Like, that's always my big question. Like, go from this place that's got this great elemental, fresh local food, come back to the sort of the land of plenty.
Yeah, well, I brought like I think 3 or 4 bottles of olive oil, when harvested from wild grapes that a friend of mine gave me. It's really good.
Listen, a friend of mine just gave me this from Sparta,
Yeah,
family olives. I mean, look how green
yeah,
this stuff
I
is.
know it's so green, so
Um,
great.
and
Yeah,
so you brought back some olive oil. I see.
yeah.
What you're saying is that you imported with you a little bit
I
of the
did, I did, I
experience.
did, I did. Yeah, I mean, I think it just keeps me inspired to try to focus on just good quality ingredients and farmers markets, and we can access it here. It's not as easy, it's not as ubiquitous, but
Right.
it's not that hard. If you have a little patch of land, I don't know if you know Ron Finley, who had something called the urban garden. They call him the urban gangster gardener because he basically planted
Oh yes, yeah.
food. Yeah, he
His clinic
food in the strip on the sidewalk, between his house and the sidewalk to that
is in
strip of
Compton,
grass.
right?
And he planted a garden there. Yeah, and he got sued for it, and then had to change the laws. And I said, let's turn our food deserts into food forests. I think
You're
that's
you're right. Yeah, but a lot of it's like attitude and mindset and just what we see around us. That I mean, that was the most inspiring thing from the Mediterranean. So, all right. So, if you had to share something that you like to cook yourself
mm.
that reminds you of something beneficial or something that you like, what's your favorite thing to cook at home, and how do you do
I
it?
mean, I just had the other night. Well, I mean, it's a couple different meals, but I had some wild Copper River salmon last night. It was really fresh. I just sliced it up and I put a grill pan like on my top of my stove, and I sort of cut them into pieces and salt and pepper, just seared them, cook them really simply, not too overcooked. A steamed artichoke with the olive oil, balsamic.
Do you cook with skin on or not?
A skin, yeah. I put the face, the face, like the skin side up first, and then I turn it over and let it cook through. Like
Okay.
kind of sear one side of it, and then it just takes like 5 minutes. It's super quick.
Do
Uh,
you do it on
uh,
a grill or a
I
pan or?
have a no, like I have a pan on my stove, which is like a grill pan, so it
Yeah.
doesn't get all the horrible charred stuff, but it's
Yeah. Yeah.
still tastes really crispy and good. And then we had some steamed artichokes, really good artichokes with really good olive oil, balsamic, and salt and pepper. I like also to make sweet potatoes. I like the Japanese sweet potatoes, that purple ones. I like those a
Oh,
lot.
right.
Yeah, and then we had some shiitake mushrooms with it. So I like to mix up sort of greens and mushrooms and sweet potatoes, and some kind of protein is my favorite kind of thing. And it's super
Sounds,
simple, very
sounds like
quick. Like
sounds like a melting pot
yeah,
of
it's great.
flavors.
I don't spend like hours and hours doing fancy recipes. I just don't have time. But you can make really simple dinner in 15 minutes. I mean, the salmon cooks in 5 minutes. Artichoke just throw in a pot, it cooks itself. Sweet potato you throw in the oven. Turn it on, it's done an hour later. I mean, there's very little work to do.
Yeah.
Mushrooms, you chop them up, saute them, or you can just throw them whole in the oven and roast them with a little olive oil. Just don't even bother, throw them in the toaster oven. It's super easy to cook if you just kind of learn the basic skills. But most people don't even have the basic skills. If you don't know how to, tie your shoelaces, it's hard to go for a walk. Right. So
Yeah.
like
Right.
we just have a culture that's completely eliminated the the culture of cooking. It's something that I know my mother did, that her mother did, that her mother did, and it was passed down to me that way. And I pass it down to my kids. And my son's a chef now. My daughter cooks all the time for herself. But I've met so many families where it's just not a thing. Like, oh,
Right.
nobody has dinner together. I mean, meals are an event. They're not something to watch TV with or do while you're scrolling through Instagram. They're literally gatherings where families get together, where people get together. It's something that's been going on, for thousands of years, that food really was the center of life for families and communities. And now it's really not been. It's like we eat on the run, we eat on the go. I think more meals are eaten in minivans than are eaten at dining room table,
Right.
And I think that's frightening when you think about it, because the data is so clear about the importance of family dinners and the health of the kids and the families. So I was always, no matter how busy I was, always made sure at least 5 times a week we had dinner together. I cooked fresh food and we all ate, no matter what I was doing or where I was. So I think it's doable. Even if you're busy, I was a single father, and I just cooked simple things. And then you get the kids involved, you bring them in, you let them cook together, and it really changes everything.
Well, and also when, they're participating in the making of the meal, they appreciate it better because they know, number one, they also know where everything came from.
And we grow gardens, and I got my kids planting the seeds and growing the vegetables and weeding, and then they go, oh, well, this is where it comes from. And there's just a place of continuity. I thought my daughter was very upset because she didn't understand why the eggplant didn't have an egg on it.
Well,
she was 3 years old. She got very confused.
Hey there, I've got an exciting resource just for you, and it's all about the 5 brain-boosting habits for longevity. These simple but powerful habits are all based on science and can help elevate your brain's cognitive ability and support your overall brain health. If you're ready to unlock the secrets to a sharper mind and a healthier future, then click the link below the video to access this valuable information. Or you can take out your smartphone and scan the QR code on the screen right now. Now, let's get back to the video.
Yeah, no, I love the idea of eating socially. I mean, also you eat slower, right? Because you get to savor your food. Who savors their food when they're actually eating by themselves, right? You basically, I mean, I sometimes do, but it's not as easy to do. And the one thing that's great about, like, what reminded me when I was in the Mediterranean, like when you're eating with other people talk about their food. They're proud of it. They want to talk about different aspects of about their food as well. And so, you kind of get into the whole thing.
Yeah, I know. It's great. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, no, I made a dish recently that I think is super easy. I found some garlic scapes at the market. And,
that's good.
And chopped them up, put a little olive oil, some salt. I actually took some shiitake mushrooms and sliced them up, and I just roasted them about 10 minutes. And then I threw them together with some little cherry tomatoes that I blistered in a pan. Like,
ooh, nice.
it took 10 minutes, and pretty much you can take that, you can throw it on brown rice, you could throw it in a little bit of whole wheat pasta, or you could just have it, actually you could throw it onto a salad if you want to, but you just get this like great pop of flavor.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing I think I've learned. And I think it's really clear that the more flavorful a food is naturally, the more medicinally rich it is. That, when you flavor food from the outside with all kinds of sauces and salt and pepper and sugar and fat, it actually, you miss the real quality food that actually tastes good by itself. So I tend to eat foods like that and just find the best quality ingredients.
Super powerful. No, by the way, I hate being tricked by flavors. Like that to me just seems like I got the wool pulled over my eyes. I hate that. So, but the elemental food is the best. Like I think that's one of the things that you and I probably both experienced in our own trips to the Mediterranean. So, when is the next time you're going to try to make your way back there?
I'm going back to Turkey in September, and then Italy, Sicily. And learn. I know Dan Buettner was just in Sicily at some of the blue zones there, so he's like a new blue zone he's finding.
He's looking for new blue zones.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. I was watching Dan talk about something on social, and he was saying that regular movement is better than actually a workout plan, and that in the blue zones people are just moving all the time as opposed to scheduling gym time.
Totally. Yeah, that's great.
That's really cool. Well, look, I want to thank you for taking the time and chatting with me.
Pleasure.
I mean, like we're friends. We've had meals, we've had gelato together, we've all done a lot of fun things together. But you know, it's a lot of fun just to kind of catch up and just talk about food a bit. But hey, what are you working on now, and where do you want people to actually learn more about what you're doing?
Well, you can find me at drhyman.com, my website, and obviously on social media. DR, like Dr. Mark Hyman on everything. So pretty easy to find me, and have my podcast at Doctor's Pharmacy, and you can check that out. That's really got a lot of great content. You've been on it many times. So
no, I'm telling you, Doctor's Pharmacy is fantastic. By the way, I will travel to different places and people will say, oh, I just heard you on the Doctor's Pharmacy. And so it's, you know, like it's got a really long life, because some of the stuff that you and I did a while ago, people are still hearing.
For sure, people listen. Yeah, it's great. Well, thank
that's
you for
awesome.
What you're doing, William. It's so exciting to chat with you again.
No, well, thank you. And if anybody wants to actually learn more about what I'm up to, come to drdrwilliamlee.com, sign up for my newsletter, got a masterclass going, all kinds of things. But, you know, at the end of the day, the stuff that you and I do, Mark, are just like, we're just real people doing real stuff and enjoying real food.
There you go.
All right, man. Good catching up.
Okay.
Next time.
Okay.
Cool. Bye now.
Bye.
Hi there. If you enjoyed watching this video, I know you'll love the next one. Stay here and check it out, and I'll see you there.